Hey guys, Cecil here once again. I wanted to do a video for you today and kind of talk to you about the controversy that's surrounding the upcoming release of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this or what Mario Kart 8 is in general, I'm going to have to kind of give you a little bit of background so you understand where the criticism is coming from, just so you can kind of have a little bit of basis for the video in case you're unfamiliar with what's been going on. The original Mario Kart 8 came out for the Wii U back in May of 2014, so a little under 3 years ago. It's generally considered one of the best Mario Kart games ever made. Great graphics, beautiful levels, great track design, anything you could really want in a core HD Mario Kart game. But the one, I guess you could call it big criticism this version of the game had was the battle mode specifically was a little bit lacking. It used actual kind of tracks from the game and not specific arenas that were built from the ground up. Because every Mario Kart game in the past, since the Super Nintendo version, Double Dash here is actually a really good example of this, has had specific arenas that were built from the ground up for battle mode. And the fact the Wii U version didn't really have this was, I guess, the one big knock on the game, but it was generally considered minor. The game was so good. Now, fast forwarding here to 2017, and Nintendo announced the Switch re-release of Mario Kart 8, and the fact it is actually going to have from the ground up, built from the ground up, dedicated arenas and a tried and true battle mode that past Mario Kart 8, past Mario Kart games have had. And a lot of Wii U owners of the game aren't happy with this for the fact they're not even going to be able to get any of this additional content as well. Not only is it a battle mode, you're getting 4 new characters, the Inklings, Boy and Girl, and King Boo and Dry Bones, as well as all the DLC being released for the Switch version. Wii U owners aren't even going to be able to get a re-release of Mario Kart for the Wii U or the new battle mode or any of these new additional characters released as DLC to them. And they're not happy with the fact that even if they don't have a Switch yet, or even if they do have a Switch, they're going to have to re-buy the game for $60 that they've owned for 3 years now. And a lot of people aren't happy with that just for the fact they don't want to spend money on a game they already paid money for just to get a few extra things many people feel the original version of the game should have. So I guess I'm going to kind of give you my 2 cents on this whole situation and why I really don't feel at the end of the day it's that big of a deal. And here's kind of why. For starters, this isn't the first time this has ever happened. This isn't even the first time Nintendo's ever done anything like this as far as kind of re-releases or a remaster. The GameCube Zelda games, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, both got remasters on the Wii U. There were a couple of how many different compilations from like PS2 and the original Xbox got re-released in HD on the PS3 and the 360. Hell, the 8th generation, the first couple of years of the PS4 and Xbox One's lives, those systems took a lot of criticism because companies, to have a pad out their release schedule a little bit, they kind of remastered a lot of PS3 and 360 games, threw them on PS4 and Xbox One with all the DLC or some extra content or in compilations and called it a new release for the new systems. And a lot of people wanted new built from the ground up games instead of rebuying previous PS3 and 360 games they might have already played. So this isn't really the first time this kind of re-release, remaster with extras added in has ever happened. Another point I want to make is the fact, generally, and this goes for consoles and video games in general, early adopters generally pay more. Especially when a new console comes out, you're always going to pay full price. The original Xbox One was $500, and now it's down to the slim version of the system, barely, 3.5 years later, is now down to $299 for the same hard drive. And you are just interrupting me. This is Caster, by the way. A good game example of this is Star Wars Battlefront. When that game originally came out in November of 2015, to get everything, the core version of the game that was $60, the deluxe edition content, which I think was another $10, and the season pass, which was $50, you were looking at spending $120 day one to get the entire quote-unquote game. Now, 18 months roughly later, you can buy the ultimate version of the game, which has all of that content for $40. So it's just kind of how releases and things work in the gaming industry in general. You know, there have been many other examples. Star Wars is just one that really sticks out in my mind as being very expensive right away, and now it's, you know, can be had for a third of the original cost, and you can get everything the original Battlefront has. It's just kind of how these things work and re-releases in general go. Another point I want to make up is, and I think a lot of Wii U owners, as much as they love the system, and I love the system too, it's easy to forget the thing was a fiscal failure for the most part for Nintendo. Yes, it has a lot of great games. I got 4 really good years out of my Wii U. I'm never going to sell it. I'm still going to revisit it from time to time. But there are a lot of people that never even own the system. How many original Wii's sold? There were 100 million Wii's and maybe a little over 13 million Wii U's, I think, sold in 4 years. That's, at best, probably a 1 out of every 10 Wii owner went and bought the Wii U. So there's a ton of people who never even got a chance to play Mario Kart 8. Since it was Wii U exclusive, a lot of people didn't even own the system. Hell, they might not have even known the game even existed. And a lot of people who bought a Switch never owned the Wii U, and this is a great way for them to actually be able to get to play the game now, experience a great game Wii U owners have had for 3 years now. And another thing, and this is kind of goes along the lines of, this is going to be the first generation, at least for right now, where there actually hasn't been a specific Mario Kart game, at least right away, made for the Switch. It's actually a port of a past game. Every previous Nintendo console from the Super Nintendo forward, as well as handheld, has had a dedicated Mario Kart game built up for it. And a lot of people are like, oh, why the hell didn't Nintendo just make Mario Kart 9? Why did they part Mario Kart 8? And people don't really realize that they forget it. In this day and age of game development, it's not exactly easy to just kind of build from the ground up a big AAA release and get it to the quality that, you know, Mario Kart is expected to have now. And it's a lot easier to port a just recent release from a few years ago, you know, add some extra stuff to it, put it out there as a re-release for $59.99, and get it out to the masses and get another big AAA game. Because let's face facts, Zelda's phenomenal. I have a Switch. But, you know, outside of, like, you know, Bomberman, Puyo Puyo Tetris came out this week. There have been a few other little games. Outside of Zelda, right now specifically, there isn't a whole hell of a lot out for the Switch. And this is going to kind of be the next really big AAA release. Even if it is a remaster, re-release of a Wii U game, it is such a good game. This is definitely going to, it helps pad out Nintendo's release schedule, for one. Because we got ARMS, I think, coming out in June and Splatoon 2 in July. We also got E3 coming up here, thankfully, in about 6 weeks. So we'll hopefully get some more information about some upcoming, you know, Switch stuff that hasn't been announced yet. But it just, the Switch needs games, period. And it's a lot easier for them to kind of throw everything from the Wii U version of the game together, you know, clean it up, put it at 1080p because the Wii U version was 720p, and re-release it as a standalone Switch release, and give, you know, people enough reason, at least in Nintendo's mind, to spend $60 to re-buy a game they maybe bought, you know, for 3 years ago or had included with their Wii U. Because I know for a long time there was a Mario Kart 8 bundle of the Wii U that Nintendo sold, so a lot of people probably got that as the packing for their system, at least if they bought a Wii U in the last couple of years before Nintendo discontinued it. And also, I will say, like I said, Star Wars Battlefront was an example I pointed out to, but another point I want to make is this might not even be the worst thing Nintendo does as far as Wii U re-releases. Rumors have been flying around now that Nintendo is working on porting Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U over to the Nintendo Switch. And if you're unfamiliar with the core game for the Wii U came out about 2.5 years ago. It was fall of 2014, I think it was. And the DLC after the $60 was very expensive. I want to say there were 6 individual packs, and each of those individual packs, I think combined, was well over $50-$60. So your core to get everything for the Wii U version of Super Smash Bros. was well over $100 once all the DLC had released. And if Nintendo does actually come out with a port of Super Smash Bros. U for the Nintendo Switch with all of that DLC included on the disc, and maybe some additional content the Wii U version never got, this is going to make the whole Mario Kart 8 controversy and the little bit of extra content that Nintendo's adding to this look like it's not a big deal just because of the additional cost all the DLC on the Wii U version had. And there could be a lot of people not too happy with Nintendo. I spent $100+ on all this damn DLC, and here you're re-releasing it to Switch owners for, half of what I paid for it for $59.99. So just kind of something to keep in mind, guys, with that whole thing. While this, I guess I can kind of see at the end of the day where some people are not happy with Nintendo. It's not the first time this has happened, and it could be oh so much worse. And this definitely isn't going to be, I feel, the last time Nintendo's going to take criticism for re-releasing, a past game with additional content that, was on a past system. So just to kind of wrap everything up here for you guys, at the end of the day, if you bought Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U and you don't have a Switch yet, or you're not happy with Nintendo over re-releasing Mario Kart 8 for the Switch for $60 with the dedicated battle mode, I get where you're coming from. No one is going to force you to buy it. No one's going to put a gun to your head and make you go out and spend $60 on this. This is still a phenomenal game. Nothing wrong coming back to it from time to time, playing with your friends, multiplayer. It's a great, great game. But for me, personally, the extra content, having all that stuff from the get-go, as well as the additional characters on the disc, the amount of fun I know I'm going to have from day one with this new version of the game, to me, is going to be well worth the $60 investment. I know a lot of people don't have a ton of money, where they can, just drop $60 on a hat. But as a working adult, someone who has enough expendable income where I can afford rebuying a 3-year-old repackaged game that I know I'm going to get a ton of fun out just by myself, having this game on the go, being able to play it with friends, a dedicated battle mode, that is more than enough for me personally to justify re-spending $60 on it just because of the fun I know I'm going to have. And to me, that's the most important thing at the end of the day. But when it comes down to it, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think Nintendo is a bunch of jerks for, dinking Wii U owners around and re-releasing a game for the Switch? Do you think they should have just waited and re-released Mario Kart 9? Or do you think it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things? It could be a hell of a lot worse. It's not a big deal. This isn't the first time it's ever happened. You're going to gladly give Nintendo another $60 for a re-release of Mario Kart 8 if you have a Switch, and just gleefully keep playing like you wanted to from the get-go before when it got originally announced. Like I said, guys, let me know in your comments, or the comment section down below, Otherwise, in the meantime, you guys, you take it easy, and I'll see you next time.